Hey, Scott Jordan and Mark Warner for Jancast number 200 for Thursday, October 18th, 2025. And it was only 20 years ago, Mark, that we started this whole Jancast thing, right?
20 years ago, 200 shows ago.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So what?
Actually, long running program.
It's the longest running Jansan podcast in the industry, and we could probably say it's the most famous and most well watched podcast for the Jansan industry in the world. We really wanted to go that far because I don't know of any other ones.
I I think we can lay claim to that.
Yeah, yeah, at least back to 2005. But
Y-
yeah. So before we get into the history and everything, what you been doing all summer, Mark?
I've had an amazing summer actually, so I've been down to the beach, doing a little bit of sailing. I've been riding motorcycles around a little bit
Nice.
in the woods, and been doing a little flying too.
Yeah.
So with
Well.
all that said, that's been a busy time. Also been doing, in all seriousness, doing some training for ISSA, doing the
Mhm.
same kinds of things I've been doing for them for years, and some part-time consulting, which is
Cool.
pretty cool. Been a lot of fun. On top of all that, Jackie's got a to-do list that's 16 pages long. so, so I continue to work at those things too. How about you? What have you been doing this summer?
Well, I don't have the ability to easily change my background, but I guess I've been in the office all this time. But I've got this whole sailing thing going on with in my RV. So those who've been following me for a while know that I do some crazy sports every now and then. I haven't hurt myself so far, so that's always good. Considering I'm riding on a hydrofoil that if you fell on it the wrong way, it might hurt. Yeah.
My,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I'm getting older, So my birthday's coming up on Halloween. I won't say how old I am, but people can guess, But yeah, everything's been great. I put out a couple shows myself through the summer. I'm still kind of trying to get the format down and appreciate the feedback I've gotten. The AI hosted shows are actually doing quite well. So I don't know. At some point, maybe I can retire and an AI person will replace me, right?
I want to meet the AI person someday.
Well, who
Um,
would have thought when we started this whole thing back in the day, one of the reasons we started Jancast is, podcasting back then, and if you think about 2004, 2005, podcasting was kind of in its infancy at that point, and mainly because the technology didn't allow you to put recordings up and things like that. So it was pretty difficult back then to even do what we were doing because you had to create a flash file and crazy upload process. And you got one, I think, up on the. Yep,
More
that's it.
amazing thing is it was all done with our iPhones with
Yeah,
plug-in mics and all that
yep,
kind of stuff.
yep,
So the iPhone technology kind of superseded the technology we were able to work with now.
yeah. Well,
Put it on
I guess
our
before the iPhone, we were doing Skype, a little bit of Skype, which now Skype is no longer. They killed Skype off, 2 months ago or something. So, I mean, we used to record that when I was at the show in Amsterdam. I'd be in Amsterdam, you'd be in Philadelphia, and we were recording shows kind of like we could do now without any problem. I mean, there was no Zoom, obviously, and there was
yeah.
no streaming anything at that point. So, yeah, we've come a long way in all these years, which is cool. Nice to look back on it after all these shows and see what we've accomplished, and we've enlightened the audience as well, right?
Yeah, the amazing thing was the file sizes that were created when we were doing those audios were gigantically huge, and we had to go through file compression
Yep,
programs in order
yep,
to actually make them small enough that if you did dial up through AOL, you could still still listen to it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, history's the technology is moving faster than the history. But so I think you got queued up show number one if we want to talk about how we've kind of innovated from there.
Yeah, well, show number one is kind of a fascinating one because it really talks about when we got started.
Yep.
So, and this is you.
Jancast.com, podcasting to a cleaner world.
Boy, I'm just jumping off of my seat. The enthusiasm level. It's killing me.
Episode 1, September 14th, 2005. Welcome, I'm Scott Jardin, the president of the Bowling Companies, and we're pleased to present Jancast.com.
Yeah, pretty.
Not bad, huh?
Yeah,
Not
the
bad.
audio was a little crappy at that point, but we didn't know what we were doing. Had no idea.
Well, the good news is by the time we got all the way to Jancast two, number two,
Yes.
the audio got better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we dialed it up.
Jancast.com,
Ooh, man, look
podcasting
at
to a
that.
cleaner world.
Yeah. That's like night and day. Yeah.
Well, good morning, good afternoon. My name's Scott Jardin. This is Jancast number 2, and I have with me Mark Warner, National Sales Manager.
There you go.
well, anyway, that's pretty cool little trip down memory lane there.
Yeah, amazing from 1 to 2. I mean, people don't know about if you produce a podcast on a regular basis, it's very important that the audio be about the same because your audience might listen to one show after another, and you don't want the volume like way up here and then the next show down here because then the person will tune up their volume to be able to listen to it. The next one comes through and it's back up at this other level, and you blow somebody's ears out with it, swearing it with headphones or something. So the quality is an important thing because that helps with people listen to a podcast and it's like you can't hear what's going on. It's like nobody's going to listen to that show again. So the quality was important to get it up there, and dealing with the technology we had at the time, it was pretty crazy. So
That was
back then we start the show off, and we saw that there was this Innovation Awards thing at the ISSA show. This was I'm pretty sure it was the first year, wasn't it, that they did the Innovation Award? Because
yeah,
it was
yeah.
free at that point too. So we figured, well, why don't we enter? And we were competing against at that point Johnson and Butchers. You remember those names, Johnson and Butchers? Now it's whatever their name is, but we're competing against all these other chemical companies, and we thought, well, there's no way we're going to win the Innovation Award against these people that are have $1 million research and development budgets. So we entered under the technology section, and we won. Yeah, there it is. I still have it in my office. It's up there behind me. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So then at that point we were exhibiting at the Interclean show in Amsterdam. So and they had a similar thing in Amsterdam. So we entered the same contest over there, and the difference is that contest was juried by the magazine people, where the ISSA one, I think it was based on voting on the show floor at that particular point. So the guys in Amsterdam, they didn't really have any interest in us because we didn't advertise in any European magazines at the time. And they said, well, these guys already won in the U.S. Why don't we even? So we didn't win, obviously. But it was nice. I got to go to a nice dinner and see somebody else win the award, and got the network and all that. But so yeah, we won the Innovation Award in 2005, and it's been historic ever since then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What's kind of what was funny is I remember they said to us, like, yeah, you probably should have won, but we didn't want to give it to you 2 years in a row. It was like, well, that's kind of lame. That's kind of like saying, you won the Olympics last time. We can't give you
Yeah.
the championship this time. So,
Yeah.
kind of funny.
Yep. So the initial Jancast logo, I don't know if we're going to bring up that, but the original Jancast logo was designed around the Apple iPod ad. Yeah, there you go. Fantastic, Mark. You're the screen sharing guy, man. So if you see the one on the right hand side, that was this standard thing. It was a silhouette of somebody dancing, and then they had the white cord from the headphones. So we used that for quite a few years, and then we'll talk a little bit later in the show. We kind of stopped doing Jancast for a little while during the whole COVID thing, and called it COVID Update at that point versus Jancast. But when we came back after that, we had to redo the logo because there was new times, and we did the one that's on the left there, you see, and one of the things
Backpacks.
you pointed out was originally I had a cord coming out of that vacuum, and you said, "Nah, they're all battery operated." I was like, well, what do I know? So I had to go. We went back in and fixed the logo, but that's still the logo that we're using today. And then we produced about 80 shows, audio only shows, which, at the time, that's what you were doing, and we're all over the place too. I used to interview people that were running for office at the ISSA. So I'd grab them, or we did stuff on the show floor, interviewing people on the golf cart, driving around. I mean, we really had a good time.
That's for sure. Actually, the ones in the golf cart were probably the most amazing because the people that were walking around have no idea how lucky they were. They weren't just taken out by the golf cart because we were pretty much preoccupied with telecasting at that point,
Yeah.
and broadcasting. So I remember you saying, "Get out of the way."
Yeah. I don't think they would let us do that nowadays.
No, I don't think
And
so.
the show was smaller at that point too, so it wasn't quite as filled up. But yeah, we did good old times back then. So what were the transitional shows that you kind of jumped out at you, Mark, that we've done over the years?
Well, one of the ones I kind of queued up because I thought it was pretty cool. And it was like the turning part in all of our lives. And our kids will talk to their kids and they'll talk to their kids about what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of queued this one up because I thought it was really rather interesting. It kind of talked about the world we lived in back then.
Yep.
Hey, Scott Jordan and Mark Warner here for Jancast number 95.
Barely
Yeah.
here.
April 22nd. And we get out of this thing. Oh, boy.
Boy, it'll be nice when we don't have to wear these things.
Yes.
It'll be
yes.
nice when we can sit side by side again and do it on a single camera.
Soon. It's coming.
We're getting there.
Coming. Yeah, we're getting.
So that was kind of interesting. And this particular show actually took us to some other things that were
Yeah,
kind of
for Earth
interesting.
Day.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of talk about where we were, what was coming up. So
If you're watching this show, stay tuned for that
Yeah.
video. You'll enjoy it.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Do we have to mask up again, or are we going to stay
Yeah,
in our
back to
office?
work, man. Back to
Back
work.
to work.
back to
Well,
work.
thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Hey, they asked me to comment about Earth Day, and I think it was 44 years ago, 1970 was the first Earth Day. And here in Philly, it was called
is
Earth
that
Week,
guy?
man.
don't
And it was
know.
all about peace and love, nothing green, but except for some of that green stuff, we can't talk about that.
How times have changed.
Yeah, now that it's all legal.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was kind of interesting, and it kind of led us into doing the whole germ washing and all the crazy claims that were out there. And
Yeah.
we did some deep dives on electrostatic sprayers and all that kind of stuff. But probably one of the more interesting ones was trying to dispel some of the myths that existed out there, Scott.
Yeah.
Do you remember some of those myths? The most famous one, the most famous myth
Yes.
is this one.
Yeah. This is our highest viewed show ever in all of Jancast.
Last one is kind of a funny one. Hadn't heard about this until yesterday, that there apparently is some confusion possibly that corona has something to do with the coronavirus. I can tell you, this isn't going to kill it. Not going to do you any good, but there's no association between Corona beer and either the human coronavirus or the 2019 coronavirus. So this is definitely fake news. So after you're done watching this video, you can crack one safely. Don't worry about it.
So
that show has been viewed over 30,000 times. 30,000 times. I mean, we're famous. I know, Mark, you said the other day you were walking through an airport and somebody stopped you and said, "Hey, aren't you that guy from Jancast.com?" Happens to me all the time. I'm at the
Yeah.
Wawa. I'm at the
Signing
Wawa, and
autographs.
the lady's going, "Hey, I saw you on Jancast the other day." And I said, "Hey, nice, nice."
Actually, the more it is amazing how many people know us from Jancast.com. I
Yeah,
got a bunch of calls this summer from some old friends that I hadn't talked to in a long time. Ken Boat and
yeah.
guys like that were like, "Hey, haven't seen you during the summer on Jancast." I said, "I'll be back." So,
Yeah, and the germ washing thing was interesting because it started off. It was just crazy stuff. People were like spraying it. Seeing the face mask kind of brought it back a bit. But I mean, back then people were cleaning their vegetables, and there's crazy people selling stuff on the side of the road that you could refill your bottles. Stuff that had no EPA number or anything. People were spraying down their kids when they came home from school. It just, I mean, and the biggest one was the whole airplane one, right? I mean,
yeah.
crazy stuff
Yeah,
going on back then.
Southwest Airlines making a claim that all they had to do is wave a magic wand around and you'd be safe, but only if you're in Texas.
But it was a 30-day residual claim. It was in print on their websites.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I started writing emails to them, and I believe we reported them to the EPA. So whoever the salesperson was that sold Southwest Airlines on their product being have a 30-day residual claim, got to give that sales guy credit, but he's probably in jail now.
Well, the amazing thing is you can make a 30-day residual claim as long as you keep the doors locked and don't let anybody in. But but that's not flying in a plane.
Yeah, and now we actually reported on the previous Jancast last year about now there's actual protocol for establishing residual claims through EPA, but I don't believe, I mean, you might know better than me, Mark, but I don't believe there's any products that have gone through that process and gotten approval as of yet. Now, you see stuff like, what's that 24 stuff, but that's against odor-causing bacteria versus bacteria you're concerned about.
The closest one to that is some of the material that contains colloidal silvers,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
silver is a kind of an antimicrobial agent, just like copper. You paint the bottom of a boat
yeah,
with.
like the Romans used to use.
Yeah, yeah. So colloidal silver, it's a ready to use only, and it carries some residual claim. The big question is how long can you claim it for? A minute, a day, a week, a month, a year, 10 years. I mean, some of those would be ridiculous to assume they were true.
Yeah.
But can it carry for an hour, a day? Depends on how long that silver residue is there.
Yeah, we on the last Gencast show, I talked with my AI assistants about probiotics and things like that, but they don't make any claims either, or they can't make any claims either. So we'll see where that's going to progress. But it's interesting that we've talked about it during the germ washing days, and then now it's maybe going to be a reality at some point. So Mark and I would come up with like, okay, what do we want to talk about? We'd put stuff in our news feed and come up with all this stuff. But then we started mixing it up a bit with guests, which I thought was really great because we've had some really spectacular guests. I counted it, 27 separate guests over the years. And you've got the list there. You want to shout out to a
Yeah, well,
couple
some of them
people?
just really kind of stood out in my mind when we were talking about it. I mean, obviously, having Branton Serro of the ISSA on some of our early shows. Steve DeVito was one of our first guests, actually, back in around 2022, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And John Hill, who at that point was less well known than he is now.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
he's almost got a celebrity status within robotics and all that
Yeah, I
kind
see
of
his
stuff
articles in ISSA Today on a
all
regular
the time.
basis. Yeah,
Yep, Millie Washington was on. She was involved with all the standards for the IICRC, and I served on, the S400 committee, the S410, and then a joint task force that kind of worked with both of those two standards. So that was pretty involved. Lisa Lavender and Ted
yeah,
Lavender there of Berks Fire and Water and
yeah,
Restoration Technical Institute and Lever 360. They've been very involved with kind of spreading what we do more into the restoration industry and sharing with us the differences between the restoration industry and what we consider Jansan. And all of that kind of takes me into thinking about guys like, you remember Grant and Don Aslett doing the Museum of Clean? That, you know, that's a history very different from restoration. And they were on the show. McGavin, you know, Dr. Gavin McGregor.
Yeah, that was when that was show number 139, and that was when he was working with Howie Mandel, who took the money to the bank, and we haven't seen him since.
Well, Gavin was on a couple times.
I didn't mean that with Gavin. I meant the other guy.
No, I know. It's we kind of expected that he was going to continue in a theme of being a spokesperson, but it didn't really happen that way. But anyway, he did kind of poke his head into the mix for a little while. But Gavin has been very involved with, back then was getting involved with germs and all that kind of stuff, you know, as a medical doctor. But moving beyond that, he's been very involved with the green movement. Mm-hmm. So he's doing a lot on that end of it. And so one of our other shows with Gavin in it talked about his attempt to build a community of green and sustainable kind of initiatives that are out there. So, you know, credit where credit's due. He's been doing a lot on that end of it. And thank goodness for Jeff Cross on the media guy for ISSA. He's been kind of sharing all these links all over the place. Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. We appreciate it.
And some of the other thanks that ought to go out is Mr. Steve Cooper, man. You know, when we were out doing germ washing and we were kind of bashing every electrostatic sprayer known to man, they kind of called us out on that and said, you know, some don't work, but some do. Electrostatic has been around forever with painting cars and motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. And he came on a show and actually clarified the science behind it, validated the fact that our claim that they don't all work was true, but kind of also straightened us out on the fact that there are those that do work. And
we thought it was important to get the facts out there because you know, that's one of the things Jancast talks about is trying to clarify what's real and what isn't real. And it was good. I mean, he reached out right after the initial show, and we were really bad mouthing. Remember the green gun that people have at home, and
it went out of business. But
somewhere there's thousands of those things sitting around. And he took offense to the fact that we were just blanketing every electrostatic sprayer on the market is not working. But yeah, you're right. It ended up his worked, but nobody else's did.
Well,
or most of them did.
Yeah, I mean, he clarified the science, and that was pretty awesome. It was a turning point for us with Jancast.com, kind of an indication that we listen to our listeners, and if they can educate us, we'll bring it to the Jancast.com audience, and we did do that, which is pretty cool. You know, and some of the more recent stuff we did had to do with Dr. Charles Gerba.
Oh, that was
that. Wadwani and
hey, if you haven't heard the Charles Gerba show, which was number 168, the toilet bloom.
Yeah.
The whole thing about all the stuff that you don't even want to know about. It was like, man, that guy he was so good. It was very, very eye-opening, I guess would be the best.
He was talking about how like even the act of cleaning broadcasts into the air contaminants that have laid on the surface. And then later we had Dinesh Wadwani on there, who was a keynote speaker at the ASHRAE conference in Indianapolis a year or so ago, talking about the fact that you can monitor live and dynamically indoor air quality. And Dinesh and Chuck Gerba got together and started talking about the fact that there's a direct correlation between air quality and surface cleanliness, and that maybe monitoring air quality is a way of monitoring surface cleanliness.
Well,
that's kind of neat.
Yeah, one of the things that came out of that conversation with Dinesh was they kind of identified that, you know, back then the kids would be in school and they'd have a break for, 10 minutes or something. And while everybody's out of the room, the teacher would clean all the desks. And it ended up, if they had just given the kids like another 15 minutes after the cleaning, that would have reduced the indoor air quality issues that were caused by the cleaning. And who would have known that, right?
Yeah, well, I know, and even talking with Dinesh, where some of the monitoring units are in place, where it'll feed to a dashboard, and people say, "What happened in that room at 4 o'clock?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, that's when the cleaners got there." It's like, wow, so you can actually see the disturbance that's created with air quality when through the act of cleaning running vacs and so on. So, anyway, that was learning curve for me. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this whole experience with Jancast.com has been a learning curve for me and pretty cool.
Yeah. For 20 years. So
20 years.
yeah.
And still learning and still growing.
That's right. And technology's getting better. And we talked about the IT stuff and the AI stuff and all that. So excellent, excellent. Good to have you back on the show for number 200, Mark. And I know we're going to kind of go off into the wind here, but I'm going to splice in later the now famous. Oh, you got it already. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
It brings a tear to my eyes, Scott. It gives us a chance to do a little scroll through memory.
I had to pay Barry Manilow $100,000 to write this. For those of you that know Barry Manilow.
To Jancast time to clean the air. Sparkling ideas you're aware.
And if those of you want to
from the
read along
floors to
with
the
it,
sky,
I got
let's
them as well.
make it new.
I just play along here, Scott.
Jancast will see this mission through.
Well, I would have brought my harmonica if I'd known you were going to play.
Jancast.com, where clean begins. Podcasting dreams where fresh wins. Eco thoughts and healthy
I'll post the
Jancast.com.
the verses on the bottom of the post of the Jancast number 200. But
dust off the doubts and shine the day.
okay.
Insights clear to light our way.
There you go.
Just can't beat that.
What a perfect way
Thanks,
to
everybody.
end the show.
That was a ton of fun.
Yeah. Thanks for all of you that have watched the shows over the years and send us feedback and encouragement. And it's fun to have done something like this for 20 plus years. You know?
Yeah, and we feed on the encouragement, by the way. So if you like what we're doing, keep us encouraged.
Yeah, and you know the ISSA show's coming up pretty soon. Mark and I will be there. Mark's got a gig going there, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a train the trainer class.
Yeah, yeah. So if you see Mark or I at the show, stop by and pull us aside and say, I listen to Jancast all the time. We'd love to hear that, and any suggestions as to future shows. We would appreciate that as well. So thanks a lot, Mark, for being
free
there.
beer to anybody that can memorize all the lyrics.
Yeah, we could have a sing along, maybe.
All right.
Well, thanks very much for being a co-host for 20 years, Mark. I appreciate it very much, and it's been a lot of fun doing it, huh?
Yeah, it sure has.
You got it. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.